What is the way forward?
Well, I think yesterday helped, actually. You presented it as none of the 8 options getting a majority, which is true, but I don't think really the point. I think what it did identify was a couple of options which do command a large element of support, one of which is a public vote, a referendum, and the other of which is remaining as members of a customs union. Now, you know, they don't have a majority so far, but I can at least see the way through to what you could call a grand compromise, in which we go with the government's deal subject to a referendum, subject to a people's vote, and subject to it being modified to include a customs union. Now, not everybody will like that. I wouldn't necessarily like it, and the strong advocates of Brexit won't necessarily like it, but it has elements which I think we can rally round.
So are you telling me that the chance of a second referendum has actually been strengthened last night?
Very much so, yes. I mean, it was significantly the largest vote of the 8 options available. It didn't get a majority, but it is clearly a very strong option. I'm hearing now this morning quite a lot of people who are quite hard Brexiteers who share our view that we've just got to get this issue out of the way and we've got to go back to the people in order to resolve the issue. So it was written off a few weeks ago, but after the big march last Saturday and after the demonstration of support in Parliament yesterday, this is now very much a runner, and I think could well happen.
Right, but the big march was what, 1 million people. There was, the petition online was 7 million people. At the end of the day, almost 17 million people voted for Brexit.
Well, they voted for Brexit almost 3 years ago under very different circumstances. We now know we've had a general election in the meantime. We've got a hung parliament. The government doesn't command a strong majority. It unfortunately went off on a 2-year diversion, trying to get an agreement that was satisfactory only to the Conservative Party. It ignored the rest of Parliament and the rest of the country. That was a terrible mistake, and that's why we're now stuck in this mess. But I think we're now looking to a potential way out of it, where the opposition parties do work with the government to get this legislation through, provided we take it back to the people in the referendum, and providing the government's own package is modified to allow for a customs union arrangement with the European Union.
Mr. Cable, you have decades of experience not only in Parliament but with public service to the nation. How removed is your Parliament from the people, whether Labour, whether Tory, whether Lib Dem? How far removed right now do you see Parliament from the various people of the United Kingdom?
Well, we don't have a very good system. I mean, we have this first-past-the-post voting system that produces very distorted outcomes. We have a very old-fashioned party system which no longer reflects the different trends within the country. I think that's breaking up. But nonetheless, it is a parliamentary democracy, and this is the institution we have, and these are the people we have, and we've got to make the best of it.
What do you want to see from Labour? Can Labour assist the Conservatives in some way, some arcane way, in this time of great trouble?
Well, actually, the Labour Party have moved. Until very recently, they were just quietly supporting Brexit. They were very divided, not being remotely helpful. But I think with the move they made yesterday, which was to come behind a public vote, a referendum, to basically argue for a customs union arrangement, I mean, these are elements, I think, that they now share with people in other parties, and I think we're getting to a point where they could be part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
Vince Cable, with the Brexit process such a mess, why have the Lib Dems failed to really make any progress in the polls?
Well, I think we will do. We are recovering, particularly at a sort of local level in local elections. I think if there were an election held now, we would do extremely well for the reasons you've given. And if, as we think may well now happen, we have European elections, which would have to happen if we have an extended process of negotiation, then I think we will do exceptionally well in those European elections. But, I mean, British politics has been shaken up now. I mean, we are developing a relationship with an independent group. There are potentially big fractures in the Conservative and Labour parties. The old way of looking at politics and opinion polls, I'm not sure is very meaningful anymore.
Right, but so how much are the Lib Dems actually threatened by the independent group?
Not at all. I mean, we see it as a healthy development. It was inevitable that the groups who broke away from the Tories and Labour Party would initially become independent. We're looking to work with them. We having, you know, perfectly amicable discussions with them. I think actually they're just the beginning of something much bigger. I think there will be bigger groups who in due course will break away from the Tory party, the Labour Party, and we are heading towards a new kind of politics. But no, I don't feel threatened. I think this is a positive and healthy development.